Oh, you're still here. Oof. Well, I guess it's probably time to get this thing going, huh? You know the drill. Taylor, SoSo Cycles, Motor Swap Ducati project. We need to get this thing running. And for more reasons than just you've been waiting for it for long enough. We need it running because it's got an appointment to get dyno tuned, and it's got an appointment for the final livery, which you guys have not seen yet. Because the livery that you saw at the one show was not even close. That was something I designed in about 10 minutes. I just needed something on it because we couldn't get it to actual paint. But we have an appointment up north with Mark from Mad Vinyl, who we met before, to get this thing painted finally. And it's going to be... I think you guys are going to like it. It's a pretty cool livery. I think it's going to look really, really good in the flesh. And I'm very excited about it. So let's get the stuff done that we were waiting for last time. Caliper spacers, stuff like that. Let's get the wiring in. Let's get it running again. And let's get it up north to Washington.
First things first, let's get rid of these temporary spacers in favor of these. Those are the proper 999S caliper spacers that took a long time to figure out what was wrong, because there was a bunch of mystery rubbing. But now we don't have that because we don't have these anymore. Yep. Peace out. And because there's a mysteriously stripped rotor bolt on this axle, we're putting in this one. Because in future-proofing this thing, I figured it would really, really suck to get in there and come across a stripped rotor bolt and not be able to get the rotor out in the future. So here we are. We now have a spare axle and a rotor that works and a bolt that is actually attached to the axle and does not wiggle. Good stuff. Anyway, putting the wheel back on, and here we go, my favorite part. Gorgeous.
All right, so this is about the midway point through this video, I believe. New axle is in, looking good. Has all four, I can't even talk today, all four functional rotor bolts. It was definitely not my fault that the fourth one on the other axle was bunged up. I had nothing to do with that at all. Caliper spacers are in, front wheel rotates nicely. I did put new plugs in over the weekend because I was just messing around in the garage. I just wanted to see what they look like. They just looked old, and there's no reason to believe they weren't the original ones because this motor only has 6,400 or so miles on it. Things I'm waiting for, I have air filters on the way, and I'm also waiting for clamps for these guys because I don't have a clamp big enough to go around these, but that's pretty much it. I just need three clamps, and anyway, I'm putting off doing the wiring harness. The only thing I want to do extra, I'll show you, but it's basically adding quick disconnect so it's a little easier to get the airbox out. The only problem with having a big volume airbox like I have, Giordano did a great design, but having everything in the airbox means you have to disconnect everything to get it out. So I'm just going to try to make it a little easier for me or whoever takes it apart in the future to get it apart. So I'm having quick disconnects for the fuel injectors out the front, and hanging out the bottom would be the disconnects for the stepper motor and the throttle position sensor. Should be pretty easy to do. It's just whatever. And the connectors I got are definitely overkill, but whatever. You get the point. Let's get going. And I'm going to set you up on a time-lapse shot because this is going to be really boring to watch me put a wiring harness in yet again. So let's do it.
And next up, we've got to wire the fuel injectors properly. And I intend on having quick releases on the outside of the airbox, so it's a little easier to take the airbox out. So what we've got to do is take this original harness, extend the wires to run them along these fuel lines and out the front through that little hole in the front of the airbox. That will connect with the factory wiring, which basically everything terminates in the front of the airbox. And we'll have them coming out of that hole. So the idea would be, we'll take these connections, label them vertical and horizontal, and they will connect with the main wiring harness in front, thus making it slightly easier to take the airbox out. which right now is not super easy with the fuel injection wiring, the throttle cables you see there, the stepper motor wiring, and the throttle position sensor wiring. But anything to make it a little easier will be awesome in the long run. So here we go, let's put it together. And there it is. I'm awfully happy with how this turned out. The wiring went in perfectly, it's just long enough to meet up with the harness, and now we have waterproof connectors in there, which, you know, isn't that big of a deal, but it's a heck of a lot better than the Harbor Freight bullet connectors that were on there last time this thing ran. So there it is. And we're finally finishing the Corsa Garage breather box conversion with this reed valve in the airbox. This is it, and now functions properly. And I'm very excited because apparently the RS breather box frees up quite a bit of power. That's going to be interesting to find out, isn't it? And in keeping with my love of showing you guys me hacking up incredibly expensive parts with an angle grinder, I just need to trim the back of this fuel tank just a little bit to clear the seat latch. And there it is. Just a little bit shorter. Now let's get this thing together, see if we can get it to fire up. And of the 2 or 3 things that we still have left to finish on this bike, it's this. Yep. But the good thing is, the guy that's going to be dyno tuning this bike actually says he can finally defeat the immobilizer. So now let's see if this thing will start.
I just remember there's no cooler in this, but it runs.
That's awfully nice to hear. Look at that though. So now let's get some coolant in this thing, put the fairings back on, and get it up to our boy Mark at Mad Vinyl Works to get painted. Heck yeah. And with that, it's the next morning. It's time to get it to Seattle. So next episode, we'll join Mark up in Van Vinyl, put this thing back together. We'll get a dyno tuned, and we'll go to the One Show again, because SoSo Cycles has a booth at the One Show this year. You guys should get stoked. It's going to be a hell of a time. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for watching.